Good morning, everyone. This is Brother Chukwemeka. It's been a while I did a video since the pagan year 2019. I have not done one of those. That's simply because there's a lot going on right now in my family, but I'm fine and we thank the Most High for His mercies. Anyway, this is an opportunity for me to talk about the situation because during the pagan feast, the Christmas and New Year season, I actually went to Igbo land during the New Year celebrations, actually, in early January. And it's an opportunity to talk about the situation there. Um, One of the things that was very encouraging to me was that while I was in a barber shop in Igbo land, I heard people, and the people around there in the barber shop were just discussing how the churches, the Christian churches, have completely destroyed our morality and our culture, and the negative impact of that on the society. Basically, while they were discussing this, I was just filled with goosebumps. I didn't want to join the conversation in the first place because I wanted to see what brothers and sisters were sharing out there. And it's good that we are having this kind of conversation. It's good that people, when Igbos sit down together, they talk about our community and what is actually responsible for the degeneracy, the decay in our culture, in our attitude, in our morality. What is responsible for that? And there were some brothers in this barber shop that were correctly identifying the role of Christianity, of the churches, in destroying our moral fabric, in destroying our solidarity as a people. To be honest, children of God, I wish this should be the norm. I really wish that whenever Igbos sit down and talk, they should talk. I mean, you can talk about, I don't know, Nicki Minaj or whatever nonsense people are talking about now, but they should at least talk about the homeland. What is going on? What will the future look like? How is Igbo land going to look like in the next 50 years? In the next 150 years? If you believe Igbo land is going to exist in 250 years' time, what will it look like? Who will be speaking our language then? What do we need to do today to lay the foundations for that? These are the kind of conversation we need to be having. And not only in Igbo land, and I'm just saying this about Igbo land because that's my primary constituency, but to be honest, I wish Africans would sit down and be having this kind of conversation. I'll give you an example. About 1 year ago, I did a video about the state of things in Africa, and I talked about what's happening in Zimbabwe, the Wana Motapa Kingdom in Zimbabwe, in which they took out a sitting president and supposedly replaced him with someone else that should be better. And this was a military coup. And I said that this happens because here in Africa, we send our boys, our young boys and girls, to be trained by the enemy. They train our soldiers, and so they can orchestrate any coup they want in our countries. And that's exactly what happened in Zimbabwe. Now, for those of you who are conversant with current affairs, just 1 year after that video, what is going on in that country now? Is it not better for the other president they had? What is actually going on there now? People are being crushed on a daily basis in the streets just for demonstrating, just for standing. Even vendors, people that sell on the streets, are being crushed and kicked out in less than 1 year of assuming office. That's what's going on now. So this is what we see. I mean, when they keep on selling this idea of democracy and all this nonsense, but now it's just to prepare a level playing ground for themselves. That's what's happening in Zimbabwe, in which they have taken the land. They've taken the land back from the black people that own the land. They've given it back to the slave masters, and now they are oppressing the population. Those who stand up to demonstrate against it are being crushed. They are being hunted down like dogs on the streets. And we see this happen on a daily basis. Okay. So we Africans need to be discussing the state of the nation. What is going on? What do we need to do now to make sure that our children don't have to fight the battles that we should have fought? It's sad that when you come to Igbo land, you see Jehovah Witness will be talking in this direction, Catholics are talking another thing, Anglicans are talking another thing. People don't come together. People don't have a united front, a united Igbo front to share ideas based on our traditional values. Everybody is subjecting their own traditional values based on what the Jehovah Witness Church will say, or what the Pope will say, or some other abstract people that for those of you who don't know, Jehovah Witness and Catholic Church, they were all created by the same people. They found out Jehovah Witness was a Jewish person. The Pope, the current Pope today, is Jewish. Okay, but I don't really want to go into that anyway. So these entities are responsible for the moral decay in our community, and I'm glad that while I was sitting down in that barber shop, it was very encouraging to me to see that there are people who realize that. In fact, there was one brother in that shop that said that if we knew what these people have done to us, what the white men who brought so-called civilization have done to us, we would chase them down the street with sticks. That's what he said. And of course, I was filled with goosebumps because it's good for brothers and sisters to identify the real culprit to the problems that we're having in our society. So it's good for us to talk about this. It's encouraging to me whenever I see two or more Igbo people gathered together. They are talking about the state of affairs. And I like talking about it because it's only when you share this that you are moved to action, to do something about it. If you don't even talk about it, then you're not going to do anything about it. I will encourage everyone, with your family, with your friends, bring up the difficulties, the situation in the land. Let us see what can be done about it. This is our only home. Even if you live in the US, even if you live in China, anywhere you live, the only homeland you have is Igbo land, and we shouldn't let it go. Now, there are a number of things I observed in the villages I traveled to, because I went to a number of places for research, and there are things that need to be said. Number one is, I don't know why our girls were just putting on fake eyelashes. I don't really like criticizing our girls, but I don't really understand that kind of fashion trend that was just going on. But the most important thing I want to say is, why is it so expensive to be an able man? We need to ask ourselves that question. Why is it so expensive to be able? Most of the brothers I discuss with, and these are my age mates that we used to hang around as kids, none of them want to even have more than two children. For those who are educated, while the other ones in the villages who are hoodlums are just running around impregnating girls. So we are seeing a situation whereby most of my age mate brothers and sisters in my village, for instance, like 98% of my age mates are not married. So if my age mates in the villages are not married, when are they going to get married? They are not married because of economic situation. Everybody wants to make $1 billion before they get married, and what we have is a situation whereby hoodlums, some old men that are just useless, are just reproducing, and why those who are supposed to have kids and supposed to replenish the community are not, because it's so expensive to be an able man. Why is it so expensive? An able man will need to build a house, you need to buy a car, you need to do this, you need to do, before you even settle down to procreate and replenish our community. And again, for those of you who believe that our population is 1 zillion, that we need to reduce population, you are in the wrong channel. Okay, I don't really care about that. The reason I'm saying this is that when I was in secondary school, we had a debating contest in which people from all over Nigeria came. So I made some friends that were from northern Nigeria, that were from Hausa and a Fulani tribe. Last year I ran into one of those friends, old time friend, and he told me that he had 3 wives and 20 children. Think about that. My mate from Hausa land has 3 wives and 20 children. In his equivalent mate in Igbo land is not even married, maybe 1 or 2 illegitimate children. So how are we trying to support the future generation? What exactly are we doing? And the reason we are not replenishing our tribe is because it's so expensive to be an able man. An Hausa man does not need to have a car, to even have anything in his pocket to get married. The in-laws are now expecting him to solve all their problems. But an Igbo man, if you go to go and marry in Mr. Keke's house, Mr. Keke will go and thank God that all his problem has been solved. He expects you to pick up all his tab. And even when you get married and go home with your wife, the in-laws will still be disturbing you. They want you to do this and do that. Your wife will be sending your, maybe stealing money from you and sending it to maybe her people or whatever. Why is it so expensive? Can we talk about this? Can we sit down and ask ourselves this question? Because we are stifling our development as a people. We are killing ourselves right here. If you look at it clearly, we are killing ourselves. We are exterminating our population. That's what we are doing. People, just because someone is about to get married does not mean that that person should be made to spend a ridiculous amount of money. I have a cousin actually that wanted to get married, and he came to me to borrow money for his wedding. And I had small money, I think it was like 20,000 or 30,000 that I had with me. I gave him to support his wedding. All right. This guy did, not only did he do introduction, he did traditional wedding, he did white wedding, he did after party, he did this and that. And this guy spent almost ₦1,000,000. This is somebody that was homeless. He is living with somebody in Lagos. He doesn't have his own house. He's sharing, attaching, renting one room from somebody's flat in Lagos. And you're spending ₦1,000,000 to get married? I told him that what am I doing white wedding for? Do I look like a white man to you? I just did a traditional. Why can't you just do a traditional wedding? I did a traditional wedding and I'm happily married. And he is borrowing money from me to go and do a white wedding. I regretted that 20,000 I gave him, because if I knew he was going to do a white wedding, I would never have given money to that. I regretted it. But the important thing is, why are we picking up boredom that we are not supposed to pick up? You see an Igbo man, you go to church, you go to bazaar, he will do this, he will give this offering. If they are doing offering in bazaar in Lagos, he's there. In his village, he's there. In anywhere, he's there. Why? This money we are wasting, can't it send a child to school in your village? The money you gave in bazaar last December, can't it send somebody to school for the whole year in your village? Why are we not trying to construct our communities? Why are we wasting our resources on frivolous things like white wedding? I have never attended a white wedding over the past, 10 years. And I have no plans of changing that. I hate when people do that. I hate it. Because number one, it's a slave mentality. You are supposed to get married as according to your culture. And that's what in Nigeria we call it traditional marriage. And that is all. Why do you have to put on a suit and spend a ridiculous amount of money? People shouldn't give in to pressure, peer pressure, just because your mates are buying cars or going to Dubai or doing this. It doesn't mean you have to do that. So it's really expensive to be Igbo nowadays. It's very expensive. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. Some people I know that will go to the United States to have a baby and they'll spend $15,000, $10,000. $10,000 is about 3.7 million naira to have one baby. A baby you can literally go to the backyard and offload and come back and nothing will happen. That's why you're spending 3 point something million just to have a baby in the US. For what? What if the child is a citizen? So what? And so do they pay free money for citizens? What exactly is the advantage that gives the child that is a citizen? There are poor people all over the US and they are citizens too. They have their social security number. We should start rethinking some of the things endeavors we've undertaken, because that is really killing us, especially in the long run. I'll suggest that brothers and sisters sit down and begin to look at this. I felt really encouraged when these brothers were discussing this in the barber shop. I stayed there for over an hour listening to these brothers that were talking about our community, our culture, and how we're letting it go, and how the churches are deceiving us, taking money upon money. The parish in my community, for instance, we spent over 20 years building a church. After finishing that church, they say they have to start another one in another village. After that one, they have to build a father's house. After that one, they have to build a secondary school. They keep building and building and building. There is no Catholic church you go to today that do not have a building project. If they don't have one, they're about to start another one. If they finish that one, they'll start another one. That is because these people are Freemasons. That's what they are. The leaders of these churches, your pastors, whether you are Redeemed or Deeper Life, your leaders are Freemasons. I've done a video here that showed that the one building in Victoria Island is built in the shape of an owl. That is Freemason worship. Okay, that is the shape of this building. It's in Lagos. Anyone can go and look at it today. The leaders of these churches are Freemasons. That's why they keep building and building and building and building just to distract you. Why will you go? And the reason this pains me is because 60% of the time, Igbos are heavily involved in building this. If they are building a church or building father's house, Igbo man will be the chairman of the bazaar. When they are finished building, another person will come and be the chairman of the harvest. This is ridiculous. This is insane. Right now, what's going on in Igbo land is all the election story. The election, of course, is coming up very soon. And some members of IPOP will say, okay, don't vote, don't vote. Again, these are all strategies. And I've mentioned this a number of times. These are all strategies to destroy the Igbo vote. Not to mention the insinuation it creates among other tribes that are near us in Igbo land. But one of the things that really annoy me is that everybody is going about talking about how our president is a clone or a body double, which may well be true. But the concept of clones, human clones or body double, is not new in the world today. Most world leaders, even in the United States, have the body doubles. A human cloning has been going on. The British have perfected that a long time ago. But the thing that surprises me the most, brothers and sisters, is people, especially these IPOP people, are going around the world claiming that our leader is a clone. How does that help us? If you are going to complain to people in London that your leader is a clone, where do you think your leader was cloned? If, for instance, your president happens to be a clone, do you think the British people don't know that? Do you think there are cloning centers in Nasarawa State? You don't think that if he was cloned or if somebody was heavily surgically operated on to look like him, you don't think that was done in the UK? Again, this is why I get frustrated with some of our brothers. Some years ago, we had a situation whereby the United States Secretary of State came to Nigeria and he only met with the northern Muslim leaders, not even northern Christian, northern Muslim leaders. How come nobody is connecting that dot with what's currently going on in Nigeria today? The people you are demonstrating with their flag, the people you are calling to come and help you, do you not know that if there is a problem in your country, those people are number one culprits? You don't think they are responsible for it? You see, this is my frustration. It's really frustrating. The president supposedly, the president actually went to London for treatment, stayed there for almost a year, came back much younger than he was before, a little bit taller. He's now a left-handed person or whatever, and a whole lot of things which insinuates the thought that he may have been cloned or somebody may have been operated on. That happened in London. Why are you telling the London people that he's the clone? If he is the clone, you think they don't know that? You think they're not the ones that did it? You think they're not the ones responsible? Snake is biting us and we are blaming mosquito. What kind of nonsense is this? We should know exactly where our problem is coming from, and we use our brain in dealing with it. Whether he's a clone or not, why don't you vote him out of power first? Then if he's a clone, let him go and take care of his cow with his clone. He can even clone as much cow as he wants. Get him out of office first. Why are you complaining? How does that solve any problem? I really don't know. There are people who are smarter than me. Maybe it's better for them to say these things. I really don't know. But it's better if we start constructing our communities instead of attracting attention, or instead of doing things that will tear it down, that will separate us, that will just make us sound like children. That is what I would suggest. May the Most High bless us.